All right, so coming back to tiny wins, I am still in the process of completing my morning routine, but I did want to kind of touch base and talk about what I am finding to help me, not just in terms of routines, but in terms of getting things done on a daily basis and not feeling stuck or feeling terrified by a project or a fear to the point where I don't do anything. So, really, I'm gonna actually start with a quote, and then I'm going to just kind of talk about how I built this into my routines and how you hopefully how you might be able to apply this. So much like anything else associated with tiny wins, I've been really leveraging James Clear's Atomic Habits. Is an amazing book. So I'm going to read this quote that I saved. It's going to be in my roadmap of transformation draft. So I'll put a link in there if you want to read that. But I'm going to read the whole thing. It's a bit long, but then I'm just going to kind of discuss. So people often think it's weird to get hyped up about reading one page or meditating for 1 minute or making one sales call. But the point is not to do one thing. The point is to master the habit of showing up. The truth is, a habit must be established before it can be improved. And if you can't learn the basic skill of showing up, then you have little hope of mastering the finer details. Instead of trying to engineer a perfect habit from the start, do the easy one thing on a more consistent basis. You have to standardize before you can optimize. And then the second quote, I think I'm just going to read just a little excerpt because it might just be a bit long. But as you master the art of showing up, the first 2 minutes simply become a ritual at the beginning of a larger routine. This is not merely a hack to make habits easier, but is actually the ideal way to master a difficult skill. The more you ritualize the beginning of a process, the more likely it is that you can slip into the state of deep focus that is required to do great things, right? And he gives a few examples. Again, feel free if you want to pause it and read them, go for it. But also they're in my draft. So this has been this insistence on creating habits that are easy to start, or good habits that are easy to start, as well as being very clear about not going past 2 minutes when it comes to building habits has been very crucial to me. I mean, especially in my experience, messing around with self-growth and trying on all these different options. The biggest problem I found throughout time is, I would be hyped for a few weeks, right? Let's say it was, for example, health. I've had many health fads that I've gone through where I would work out, I would do fasting, I would do all this intense stuff for a few weeks. But then, over time, my willpower wasn't cooperating anymore. I would start procrastinating. And then eventually it would be too large. The tasks such as fasting all day, going to the gym for like 2 hours, eating and meal prepping all at once, all of those things became so overwhelming that eventually I would drop it. And I've done that many times in my life. Now, in contrast, so what I'm sharing with you is my current health routine, which is still in its infancy, right? But now I'm really applying that, 2-minute rule to great effect. I've actually taken it upon myself to go down to 30 seconds because for me, I can't. I've noticed that I can't even do 2 minutes on some days. So for example, now I have a meditation routine. I use Headspace personally. That's 30 seconds. They have really great 1-minute meditations, which I really leverage. I'm now getting in the habit of journaling in the morning for at least 30 seconds. And then there's also kind of really good habits that I want to start building in, right? Like, so in the past, I never really did warm-ups or stretching, because they were uncomfortable. I didn't like it. But now I'm in the point where, I can force myself to do 30 seconds. And the benefit of it is, much like what James Clear talks about in in that quote I read you, is that usually once I start for 30 seconds, half the time, I'll end up deciding to do more, right? So for example, stretching, I'll end up doing 4 minutes, 5 minutes. With exercise, start with 30 seconds, but it'll end up being 10 minutes, 20 minutes, sometimes, 30 minutes on a rare occasion. But, I definitely am a big believer, especially since I've been doing this for the past month, of not trying to overwhelm myself with habits that are too large, for, let's say, my unconscious mind. Let's put it that way. They're habits that I don't want to do things that I can't do automatically through habit, right? So hopefully this makes sense. And I guess the key takeaway, hopefully you've got it by now, but the key takeaway would be, for any activity or any habit or any goal that you're looking for, see if you can break that down to a 2-minute version or 30-second version, right? So for example, I was speaking to a friend yesterday. She's having a very hard time applying for jobs, right? She's looking for a new job. And I definitely relate to that, but, basically what I told her is like, hey, are you willing to put in 30 seconds or 2 minutes, in the morning or whenever you want to put it on your schedule, and just do 2 minutes and then stop, right? Are you comfortable doing that? And they're now starting to do that, or at least they agreed that, hey, I can do that, and they felt more motivated because they were no longer fighting with themselves, right? And so that's kind of my hope for you. I don't want you to fight yourself anymore either. Just work with the body and the procrastinating unconscious that you have, and just work on the tiny start, right? Starting is more important than finishing, right, in this game. So that's about it. I will queue this up. I think this is gonna come out, some Sunday, sometime soon. So just be on the lookout. Or I guess if you're watching this, it's already out. So appreciate you watching. And then there's gonna be more stuff like this coming out soon. So other than that, I'll talk to you in a bit.